So you spent 3 hours on that report. Charts, graphs, traffic numbers, conversion rates, a full breakdown of everything you did last month for your client. And then you sent it over on a Friday and you heard nothing. No reply, no feedback, no great work, nothing. And then 2 weeks later, the client gets on a call with you and says, so what exactly have you been doing for us? And you're there sitting, I sent a 20-page report. Did you even open it? They didn't. And here's the thing. It's not because they don't care about their business. It's not because they're lazy. It's not because you did bad work. It's because you made a mistake that almost every agency owner makes. And it's quietly killing your retention, your referrals, and your revenue. I'm going to show you exactly what that mistake is. And more importantly, I'm going to show you the system that fixes it. A system that not only keeps your clients longer, but actually helps you close new ones faster. But before I get into the solution, I need to show you how deep this problem actually goes. Because most agency owners think this is a reporting problem, but it's not. It's a communication problem. And those are two very different things. Let me paint you a picture. You're running an agency, you've got 5, 6, maybe 10 clients. Every month, you're pulling data, building dashboards, writing summaries, you're doing the work, you're delivering results. But your clients, they're running a business. They've got staff issues, cash flow problems, sales calls, operations. Their brain is full. By the time your report lands in their inbox, they've already got 47 other things demanding their attention. So what do? They skim it, or they don't open it at all. And here's where it gets dangerous. When a client doesn't understand your value, they start questioning it. They start wondering if they actually need you. They start looking at the invoice every month and thinking, is this worth it? And you don't even know it's happening because they're not telling you. They're just quietly building a case to cancel. I've seen this happen over and over again. Agency owners come to me stuck at 15, 20K a month. Good work, real results, but clients churning every 3 to 4 months. And when I dig in, 9 times out of 10, the client didn't understand what they were paying for. Not because the agency wasn't delivering, but because the agency was speaking a language the client didn't understand. Data is not communication. Data is data. And this is where most agencies get it completely wrong. Let me show you what actually costs you. If you're at 20K a month and you're losing 1 client every quarter, that's roughly 3 to 5K walking out the door every 90 days. Over a year, that's 12 to 20K in lost revenue just from churn, just from clients who didn't feel like they understood what you were doing for them. And it gets worse because when a client churns, they don't just leave. They leave with a story. And that story is usually, we tried this agency and it didn't work. Not the agency did bad work, just it didn't work. They couldn't see the value. So in their mind, there was no value. That's the referral you never got. That's the case study that never happened. That's the testimonial that's sitting on the table because the client didn't feel like they won. And here's the part that really stings. You probably did great work. Your numbers were probably solid. But if the client can't read the report, they can't feel the win. And if they can't feel the win, you don't get the credit. So the question isn't, how do I do better work? The question is, how do I make my clients feel the value of the work I'm already doing? And that starts with understanding one thing, one shift in how you think about reporting entirely. Here's the reframe. Reporting is not about showing data. Reporting is about translating value. Read that again. Your client doesn't care about impressions. They don't care about click-through rates. They don't care about your quality score. They care about one thing. Is my business growing? Am I getting a return on what I'm spending? Your job as an agency isn't to show them what happened. Your job is to connect what happened to what it means for their business. That's the shift. From data to meaning, from numbers to narrative. And once you make that shift, everything changes. Your clients stop questioning your value. They start trusting your judgment. They stop looking at your invoice as an expense and start seeing it as an investment. But here's the problem. Most agencies don't know how to make that shift because nobody taught them. They learned how to run campaigns. They learned how to pull reports, but they never learned how to communicate value. So let me teach you how right now. There are 3 levels of reporting, and most agencies are stuck at level 1. Level 1 is an observation. An observation is just telling the client what happened. Your traffic went up 12% this month. Your cost per lead dropped from 45 to 38. Your conversion rate is at 3.2%. That's data. That's a fact. And it means almost nothing to a business owner who doesn't live in this world every day. Level 2 is an insight. An insight is telling the client why it happened. Your traffic went up 12% this month because we shifted budget toward the top 3 performing keywords and cut the ones that were eating spend without converting. Now the client understands. Now they can see the thinking behind the work. But level 2 2 isn't enough either. You have to go to level 3. Level 3, and this is where the best agencies operate, is direction. Direction is telling the client what to do next. Your traffic went up 12%. Here's why. And here's what we're going to do over the next 30 days to push that further. And here's what you can expect to happen. Observation, insight, direction. Most agencies live at level 1. Some live at level 2. Almost nobody consistently operates at level 3. And the agencies that do, they don't lose clients because the clients feel like they have a strategic partner, not just a vendor. And that's a completely different relationship. Now, I'm going to show you exactly how to build this into a system. A simple, repeatable system that takes less time than your current reports and works 10 times better. But first, I want to make sure you understand why this matters beyond just retention, because there's another side to this that most people completely miss. Stick with me, because what I'm about to show you in the second half of this video is how this exact same principle, communicating value instead of showing data, is also the most powerful closing tool you have for your new clients. But let's build the foundation first. I call this the 5-minute report, not because it takes 5 minutes to read, but because it should feel like it only takes 5 minutes to read it. It's short, it's structured, it's insight driven, and it's built around what your clients actually care about. Here's the structure. First, the win. Lead with something good. Every single report, every single week starts with a win. One clear, specific thing that moved the needle. We generated 47 leads this month at a cost per lead 22% lower than last month. That's a win. Lead with it. Make the client feel it before you show them anything else. Second is the key metrics. Not all metrics, the key ones. The 2 or 3 numbers that actually matter for their business. Revenue, leads, conversions, whatever the North Star is for that client, show it clean, simple, no noise. Third, the context. This is where you explain what's behind the numbers. 1 or 2 sentences. Lead volume increased because we launched a new landing page and shifted budget to the top performing ad set. That's it. Context, not a dissertation. Just enough for the client to understand the story. Fourth is the insight. This is the level 2 and 3 thinking I talked about earlier. Why did this happen? What does it mean? The new landing page is converting at 4.1% versus the old one at 2.3%. This tells us the messaging is resonating better with the audience we're targeting. We're going to double down on this angle. Fifth, the next steps. What are you going to do next? What should the client expect? Over the next 30 days, we're testing 2 new ad creatives, expanding a lookalike audience, and optimizing the follow-up sequence. Our goal is to push lead volume to 60 while keeping cost per lead under $40. That's the whole report. Win, metrics, context, insight, and next steps. 1 page, maybe 2, sent bi-weekly or weekly, and I promise you, your clients will actually read it, because it's written for them, not for you. Now, here's something I want you to think about. If you're doing this for your existing clients, you're building trust, you're reducing churn, you're becoming indispensable for their business. But what if you use the same framework even before someone becomes a client? Actually, before I get into that, real quick, if you're an agency owner doing somewhere between 5 and 50K a month and you feel like you're working hard, but the growth just isn't matching the effort, I want to talk to you. Not a pitch, not a webinar, just a real conversation between agency owners about where you are, where you want to go, and whether I can help you get there faster. The link is below. Book a call, it's free. And if nothing else, you'll walk away with clarity on what's actually holding you back. All right, back to it, because this next part is really where things get interesting. Most agencies stop at reporting. They fix the client communication, they reduce churn, they feel good about it, and that's great. But they're leaving the biggest opportunity on the table, because the same principle, showing value instead of showing data, is also the most powerful sales tool you can use, and almost nobody is using it this way. Here's what I mean. When you're trying to close a new client, what do most agencies do? They send a proposal, they talk about their services, they show a portfolio, they explain their process, and then they wait. And the prospects go quiet. Or they say, let me think about it. Or they come back and say, we went with someone cheaper. Why? Because the agency never made the cost of inaction real. They showed what they could do, but they never showed what the prospect was losing by not doing it. This is what I call revenue gap method. And it works like this. Before you pitch a prospect, you do an audit, a real one. You look at their current state, their website, their SEO, their ads, their funnel, whatever is relevant to what you do, and you find the gap between where they are and where they could be. And more importantly, you attach a number to it. Let me give you a real example. Say you're an SEO agency. You do an audit for a prospect. You find that they're ranking on page 2 for a keyword that gets about 8,000 searches a month. Their competitor is on page 1. that competitor is getting roughly 30% of that traffic, about 2,400 visitors a month. At a 2% conversion rate and at a $500 average order value, that's $24,000 a month in revenue that prospect is not getting. That's the gap. Now, you're not selling SEO. You're showing them $24,000 a month they're leaving on the table, and you're the person who can help them capture it. That's a completely different conversation. You're not a vendor anymore. You're now a revenue partner. And so the question stops being how much do you charge and starts being how fast can we start? I've seen agency owners use this method to close deals at 10, 15, 25K a month. Not because they had the fanciest proposals, but because they made the cost of inaction impossible to ignore. And here's the thing, this audit doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to take days, because we're actually living in a world where AI has completely changed what's possible. 2 years ago, doing a proper audit for a prospect took time. Real time. You'd spend hours pulling data, analyzing competitors, building a presentation. It was a significant investment before you'd even close a deal. That's changed a lot today. With tools available today, you can run a meaningful audit in 1 or 2 hours. AI can pull competitor data, identify keyword gaps, analyze ad performance, flag technical issues in a fraction of the time that it used to take. Which means you can do more audits. You can do them faster. You can show value before the contract is signed. And you can do it at a scale that was impossible before. This is a massive advantage for agencies that understand how to use AI. Because here's what's happening right now. Most agencies are still doing things the old way. Long proposals, generic decks, service menus, and they're competing on price because they haven't figured out how to compete on value. The agencies that are winning, the ones scaling past 100K a month, they're not competing on price. They're competing on insight. They're showing up to sales conversations with data, with gaps, with revenue numbers attached to real opportunities. And the prospects look at that and think, this person actually understands my business. This person has already done the work. This person is different. That's the edge. And AI is what makes it scalable. But here's the thing, and this is important. The tool is only as good as the thinking behind it. AI can pull the data, but you have to know what to look for. You have to know how to frame it. You have to know how to turn a gap into a story that makes a prospect feel the urgency to act. That's the skill. And that's what separates the agencies that are growing from the ones that are stuck. I want to talk about something that nobody in the space talks about directly, but it's the thing that's underneath all of this. There are 2 types of people running agencies right now. There are freelancers and there are operators. And I don't mean that as a job title. I mean it as a mindset. A freelancer reports data. An operator translates value. A freelancer reacts to what the clients ask for, but an operator leads the client towards what they actually need. A freelancer sends a report and hopes that the client is happy. An operator sends a report and makes the client feel like they'd be crazy to work with anyone else. The freelancer competes on price because they haven't figured out how to compete on anything else. An operator commands a premium because the client can feel the difference. And here's the honest truth. Most agency owners are running their business like a freelancer. Even if they had a team, even if they have multiple clients, even if they're doing 20K, 30K a month, because the mindset hasn't shifted. The mindset is everything. When I work with agency owners, this is usually the first thing we address. Not the offer, not the outreach, not the systems, the identity. How do you see yourself? How does your client see you? Because if you see yourself as a service provider, your client will see you as a service provider. A service provider is replaceable. But if you see yourself as a strategic partner, as someone who understands their business, who leads their marketing, who shows them the gap between where they are and where they could be, that's a completely different relationship. And that relationship doesn't churn. That relationship grows and that relationship refers. The shift from freelancer to operator isn't about working harder. It's about thinking differently, communicating differently, showing up differently. And everything I've shown you today, the 5-minute report, the observation, insight, direction framework, the revenue gap method, all of it is just the practical expression of that operator mindset. This is how operators think. This is how operators communicate. This is how operators build agencies at scale. So let me bring this all together. Your clients aren't reading your reports because your reports are written for you, not for them. They're full of data that means nothing to a business owner who's actually trying to run a company. And when your clients don't understand your value, they start questioning it. And when they start questioning it, they start leaving. The fix isn't more data. The fix is better communication. Move from observation to insight, to to direction. Give your clients a win, the key numbers, the context, the insight, and the next steps. Make it short, make it clear, make it feel like a conversation, not a spreadsheet. And then take that same thinking into your sales process. Show prospects the gap, attach a number to it, make the cost of inaction real, and watch how the conversation changes. Because here's the bottom line. If your clients don't understand your value, you will become replaceable. It doesn't matter how good your work is. It doesn't matter how hard you're working. If they can't see it, feel it, or understand it, you're just another line item to them on their expense sheet. And when you communicate like an operator, when you lead, when you translate, when you show the gap, when you stop being a vendor, you start being indispensable. And indispensable agencies don't lose clients. They raise prices. They get referrals. They scale. That's what I help agency owners build. Not just the tactic, the whole foundation. The offer, the system, the positioning, the sales process, everything that takes you from stuck at 15K a month to operating at 100K and beyond. I've done it myself multiple times. I've helped over 700 agency owners do it. And I only work with about 6 agencies every quarter because this is one-on-one, week by week, real work. If that sounds like what you need, the link is below. Book a call. We'll talk about where you are, where you want to go, and whether I'm the right person to help you get there. No pressure. There's no pitch here. Just a real conversation between people who actually understand this business model. The link is below. I'll see you on the next one.